Okay, welcome back to Jeepa Woodworking. Today I'm starting on a slab that I've had drying for 2 years, and it's an oak, white oak. I'm going to flatten it. What I did is I cut some rails. I measured the height of my slab, and I need 2¼ inches to, it's like a little more than 2¼, so I'm starting at 2¼ and I'll trim it down until I get it flat. Then I'll flip it over and flatten the other side. It's roughly 1 7/8 thick. I flattened this table so that I have a flat surface to work with. I'm going to put pocket holes on these for rails, and then I will mount my slide for my router so I can do what I need to do. And what I'll do is I'll clean this up. This was from back in last year when I did a resin table. I'll wax it so it has a lot smoother glide to it, and a lot easier on me when I'm cleaning up the slab. What I'm going to do with this slab is I'm going to cut out the middle and then put the live edge facing the middle with a square edge on the outside so that I can do an epoxy pour. It's going to be a hall table, 5 foot long. This is a 5 foot 8 inch piece. So I'll clean up the ends. The ends will be square and the edges will be square. The middle will have some contour to it, and it's going to be black with white, black epoxy, smoky black epoxy with some white splashes to it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I'm going to get started on this. I'm going to break out my pocket hole jig, and I'm going to put pocket holes in this. I'll make sure that it's even away so that I can pull, so that I can at least bring my router past the board on each side. So that way I'll put my rail roughly, let's say 8 inches away from each edge, and it gives me plenty of room. I cut the rails at 8 feet just because I could have went a little shorter, but didn't feel the need for it. I will cleat this in place so it doesn't move up or down or in or out. That way I don't have any movement, so that once I get this flat, it'll be flat when I flip it over, and I'll have a good smooth surface to parallel. So I'll give you snippets. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is move that out of the way. I'm going to set this on this edge closest to me and draw it down. Then I'll place this appropriately. Then I'll put the other one similar distance. Now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So about every foot I put a pocket hole. And I'm just putting it flush with the edge of the MDF. I mean, making your own rails out of wood is one way of doing it. They do have jigs that you can buy if you want to spend the money. I'm just not there yet, but let me move you around so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to go roughly 8 inches off. Take some screws, flip this around. Even if there's a slight bow to your plywood rail, it'll draw down and be flat. I cut it on the table saw with a guide, plus the fence. So we will 8 inches. So I'm going to go 12 off the edge. Just so I can keep it fairly straight. I wanted to make some rails, I just haven't gotten around to it. Plus I'm limited on space, so anything I make, I gotta find some place to store it when not in use. And there you go. The rails are built. Use 1¼ inch pocket holes. So, back you up a little. I have this jig that I made that sits just like that. And my router sits just like that. It goes back and forth. So we'll work on it. And if I needed to raise it, all I have to do is put a strip underneath, and that will allow me height difference. So now I'm going to cleat it so it doesn't move, and make sure I get somewhere's got a splinter there, somewhere's in the middle. That way I don't have a real thin edge and a real thick edge, because then the thinnest part, that's what you're gonna end up making your whole slab, and I want to get it just right. So I'm gonna measure it out. All right, I got it cleated up, and as level as I'm gonna get it, because there's a little twist to it, so I got a high side and a low side, but I got it so that it's somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna clean this surface, get it flat, flip it over, flatten the other surface, and hopefully naturally it'll lay flat. If there's a little pull into it, then I'll clean it up one more time. So I'm gonna set up, clean up my bridge and wax it. Use Johnson paste wax. There's no oil in it, so it's real good for giving a smooth surface for moving a router across it. So I will do the plastic face of the router and the board. And we'll come back when I get ready to start. All right, so I waxed my sled. I adjusted my blade, my cutter. Everything's ready to go. I'll put my mask on and my earplugs, and we're gonna start. So I'm on my last pass. I just started it. I got it flat on both sides. So I'm going to finish that up. I'll clean it up, and then I'm going to look at cutting the length, and then I'm going to cut a section out of the middle on a gap so that my live edge can come together and I still get a 15-inch table with a nice epoxy pour down the middle. So that's where I'm at right now, just finishing up. So I'll do that, and I'll show you the next steps. Thanks. Okay. Welcome back to Jeepa Woodworking Shop. I want to talk about the slab that I have leveled. I'm going to cut it down the middle and take a chunk out of it. So this is what I'm going to do. Is I got this slab, I got a straight edge, so I figured the greatest width, which is 19 inches, I measured 9.5 and marked the center line. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be a edge that's going to be exposed. This edge right here is going to flip over and face the middle. Now I need a total width of 15 inches. So what I'm going to end up doing is taking 4 inches out of this in order to get my 15 inches, and I'm going to pour resin. So we'll have a little bit of live edge that's right here on the center with a little bit of straight edge. I'll clean it up and then I'll cut it to 5 foot, which I'll take that much off on that end, and I'll take that much off on this end. And then what we're going to do is we'll end up putting a flood coat over the whole thing to give a nice tabletop. So that's what we're up to today. So I will give you a view. As I set up to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a clamp on this. That is 1.5 inches away from my mark to compensate for my saw. And what I'll have to do is I'm going to have to slide all this back so I can clamp it. I just need a secure straight edge to go against so I have a nice straight cut. Yeah. So that's going to be tough. I got a clamp here. And I'm going to make several passes. I don't want to cut this all in one pass. So I'll set my blade depth to do half, and then I'll do a second pass. So what I should have is just a little bit off because of the angle of the end. Yep, I like that. And I'm going to double check. Yep. Okay. So found my dust mask. There it is. And there we go. Say hi to my wonderful wife.
Hi.
So, what I end up having is that. All right, so we're gonna bring it down to the shop and run it on the planer to make sure that we got consistent thickness. Since it's narrow enough, I can do that. And then we'll put it on the table saw and cut out what I need on this section here, since that's going to be on the inside, and then off this side so I can get the total of 15 inches that I'm looking for.